what was the significance of that handing over of the flag that was done in, I think, Sokoto, which was done by the British for independence, especially with regards to the fact that the flag had earlier been captured in the early, I think, 1906 or thereabout. So then it was then given back to them out, and especially in line of Ahmad Bello's speech, where it referred to the British not just as partners but as yes. So you know the speech is in the book. Thank you very much. So and thank you, Clarissa.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, the significance of that flag is this, that it was the sealing of the partnership. Senior partner and junior partner. The senior partner, Britain, was leaving, had been forced to leave by the forces that I discussed in the book, Eisenhower, as a payback for the failure of the British to support the Americans in Vietnam. And so the arrangements had been put in place now. Bear in mind, the Brits had a long time since the first warning that came from Roosevelt in 1939 that the days of empire were over, the colonies had to go. So there was plenty of time from between the 1930s to 1960 to put the arrangements in place in terms of who was going to lead once the British have left, and I use left in inverted commas, nominally left, physically left. But what confirms that they didn't leave in reality was this special understanding, the special relationship that had been put in place between them and the caliphates and the Fulani specifically. One needs to understand that the Sokoto Empire, the Fulani Empire, had been conquered by the British in 1906. The British had a free hand at that point in terms of what to do with it. What they chose to do with the Fulani and the Sokoto Caliphate was to revive it, effectively to reverse into that vehicle and to use that to project themselves across the whole of what became the Nigeria space. So having conquered them, they effectively put them back in power, which is different from what happened in India. See, in India, when the British went in, bear in mind, India was not made by the British in the same way as Nigeria was made. What I mean is that the ethnic groups that were India, or that constituted India, were already formed part of that political entity before the British took over. And the counterparts of the Fulani in India at that point were the Mughals. So when the Mughals were conquered, they were not put back in power. Instead, the Hindus, who had been subjugated by the Mughals, a bit like when you look at the House of Fulani relationship, for the Hindus read the Hausa. So the Hindus in India were under the Mughals, who were of the Islamic stock. And in the Nigeria space, the Hausa were under the Fulani rule. In India, what happened was that when the Mughals were overthrown and the British used the Hindus, they encouraged the uprising and supported it, whereby the Mughals were now conquered. Having conquered the Mughals, they didn't put them back in power. They lifted the Hindus up. In contrast, in Nigeria, what happened was that the Hausas were used in the conquest by the British of the Sokoto Caliphate in 1906 having conquered them, the houses were expecting to be now lifted up and independence, if you like, at least self-determination. But that did not happen, because what the British did was to revive the Sokoto Caliphate and then project what had been a defeated force to propel them across the rest of the Nigeria space. And so at the point of departure in 1960, a decision had been made that the North were going to rule Nigeria, and the Fulani in particular, and the keys were effectively handed over to them. The keys to the kingdom were effectively handed over to them, with the control of the army and the control of the police force. And so that flag ceremony was symbolic. Independence had happened 1st of October 1960, or the grant of independence. But a few days later, that's when the flag was handed back. Symbolic. We're partners. So that's the significance of that, of that event.